That should be me, Sandy. Greg Summer with the town of West Hartford.
I was muted. Thank you, Greg. It's 7 o'clock. Are we going live now, Jennifer? We do have a quorum. I think Megan is going to start the recording for us. Well, maybe I don't have.
I believe we're starting the recording on the West Hartford Community TV channel.
Oh, okay. I thought we did it on WebEx before. So have we started? Jennifer, have you started the recording?
We started. She just commented in the chat.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, if everybody could mute themselves to start, it just makes the quality a little better, and unmute yourself when you're speaking. I'm going to call the roll of who I know is here, and if I miss anybody, let me know. We have Paul Hogan, Daniel Johnson, Ken Livingston, Colin Gillespie, Denise Gutierrez, Jennifer Evans with West Hartford Community Access, Megan Lenz with the town, and Greg Summer with the engineering department. Did I miss anybody? All right, I guess we can jump into our agenda then. First item on the agenda is approval of the previous meeting minutes. Does anybody have any comments on those minutes?
No.
No.
All right, seeing none. I think, do we do these on a motion all the time, or do we just approve them by acclamation? I can't remember.
Usually a motion.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes for the August meeting.
Is there a second?
Daniel Johnson seconds that motion. Thanks, Colin.
Thank you, Daniel.
Put my name in next.
And to take our vote, we have to do it by roll call, I think is what they told me. Any votes have to be roll call. So, Daniel Johnson?
Daniel Johnson approves the minutes.
Ken Livingston, your vote on the motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Paul Hogan?
Yes.
Colin Gillespie?
Yes.
Denise?
I wasn't on the meeting, but I guess yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so next item on the agenda is updates on roadway and trail projects. And I talked with Dwayne Martin about the various projects. So I think I'll just, Greg, if it's okay with you, I'll go over quickly what I got from Dwayne, and then you can fill in details on anything I missed. Does that sound all right?
Yep, that'll work.
Okay. All right, North Main Street traffic calming study. When I talked to Dwayne, they didn't have the signed contract. It was in the attorney's hands, but they thought they would have it soon. VHB is the consultant who will be doing the work. Yeah, I'm looking at my old notes. Wait a minute. That's the wrong one. Okay. So that is moving forward. They actually are under contract. I said that wrong. They're going to have to do some traffic counts. They're going to compare them to counts that were taken pre-COVID and make adjustments, because now is not really a good time to do counts. New Park Avenue, they finally got the commitment to fund, and that's why I was able to send out to everybody the link to their website. They really want to get people involved with the project. They figure it'll be a 1.5 to 2 year design period. They'll put it out to bid in late 2022. And then the construction would take 1.5 seasons. The limits are from north of Oakwood to New Britain Avenue. Most of the work is in the sidewalk area plus a road diet. They're going to have a buffered bike lane, some raised median. There will be a pocket park at the entrance to the Trout Brook Trail, 3 crosswalks with rectangular rapid flashing beacons. And they might have a median refuge for pedestrian crossing. They're going to replace the traffic signals at Talcott and Oakwood. So anyway, they'll be doing public outreach as it moves along. Trout Brook Trail, the DEEP issues are settled, but now they need to get OPM to sign off. Then they'll get a final DEEP signature, and they hope to have the section of trail out to bid in the spring. That's the section from Fern up to St. Joe's, up to the northern. Section 3, which is from Jackson Street to Park, they have somebody internally working on it, but she's been pulled to some other projects, so that design isn't done. Newport and 4 Mile. They've determined after evaluating that they really need the buffer on both sides of 4 Mile. You know what they did? They had 4 Mile set up so you couldn't enter from Boulevard. You couldn't go north, you couldn't go south. And then they switched it so they left it that you couldn't go north on 4 Mile. And then they moved that diversion to Newport, where you couldn't go south from Boulevard onto Newport because they'd had concerns raised that people were being diverted to Newport. They've decided they need to have both of those diversions at 4 Mile, and they need to do something at Newport too. And it's not fully determined, but they're going to be testing through the winter before they do anything permanent. They hope they can make it permanent in the spring. We'll have Greg talk to us about Farmington and Mountain. That was another thing we talked about. The North Main Street Bridge project, it's on schedule with moving from stage to stage, moving the traffic to different places. So that doesn't look like there will be any problems in meeting the schedule that they have. Repaving has already started. They're repaving Park, Woodrow, and Taylor. And Park is one where we looked at bike lane improvements. It's Park from Trout Brook to, I might be wrong on that. We'll ask Greg what those limits are. But we had looked at that. They're still working on the updated bike facilities map that they'll put online. And that was everything I had. So, Greg, do you want to jump in and fill us in on anything I missed and clarify what part of Park Road is being paved?
Sure, Sandy. So you had most of it on the money. Park Road is going to be paved from Trout Brook up to Quaker Lane South. So that's actually scheduled. Not sure that right now we have some utility work that they're trying to get out of the way. Once that gets taken care of, probably looking at paving next week with markings to follow soon thereafter. And as you alluded to, we will be installing bike lanes on that section of Park Road from the intersection of Trout Brook up to Quaker Lane South. I was taking some notes as you were talking. The North Main Street Bridge, I think right now they're shooting for a completion date around the end of July. 2021. So that's kind of as we work with our consultant, VHB, on the North Main Street study. We're kind of working around that date, that target of end of July, trying to get everything in place and ready to go to implement the trial soon thereafter, as we previously discussed. So that's what we're working towards, and then obviously we'll adjust that if we see that the bridge project is moving along faster than anticipated. We may be able to advance that. I think that was everything. I'll save some additional items for town staff updates under 5A, but as far as road work and trail projects, I think we covered everything.
Okay, I just got a text from a couple people who said they can't get into the meeting. So I am sending them the access code, which was on the top of the agenda. I hope that works. I was surprised we didn't have any callers. Usually we have several. So let me just get this sent out. Sorry. I wish we
Greg,
could just send them the WebEx, but we're not allowed to.
This is Daniel Johnson. Just question about like the 4 mile diversion. So 4 mile seems to get traffic buffers on both directions, and Newport is under consideration. Can you just talk more about that, or why? I'm just curious to why 4 mile gets, looks like 2 sets of treatment from Sandy's report, and then Newport is left alone at the moment.
No, you misunderstood me, Daniel. Right now, like the original implementation was just on 4 mile, preventing people
Right.
from going north or south. And when they did the traffic counts and looked at the safety record, they found they had eliminated crashes and they'd reduced the traffic volume. Some of the volume picked up on Newport, but not as much as had been on 4 mile before. So they decided to deal with the concerns that were raised on. I just got a message, Megan, if you could let me know, people are saying they put in the access code, but WebEx wants a password.
I can, the password is in the invite that I sent out, the invite email that I sent out. I could pull that up real quick if need be.
Okay. So sorry, Greg. So it sounds like I just heard it incorrectly on that.
Yeah, because it used to be a full diversion at 4 mile, and then they switched it to half at 4 mile and half at Newport, and they felt that wasn't doing what they needed it to. So they're going to go back to a full at 4 mile, diversions on both sides of Boulevard, and they're still figuring out what's the best solution at Newport. Is that right, Greg?
That's correct. Essentially, what we were trying to do is balance out traffic volumes and still maintain access and mobility for the residential traffic. What we found is if we left the semi diverter on Newport where it is and just added one back to 4 mile, you would really prevent anybody from going south on either of those two streets. And you know, typically essentially what you're trying to create are one-way couplets. You know, one way northbound, the adjacent street, and one way southbound. So by having those semi diverters right next to each other at the Boulevard intersection, you really took away that flexibility, and you would push all the traffic to Riggs. So before we reestablished the semi diverter on 4 mile, we wanted to look and see what we could do for Newport. So we're still evaluating options. I think we have a pretty good handle on it. We're just waiting for the town manager to sign off on that. And then send letters to the residents, and then we can certainly share that information. So we're close. We're in the process of ordering some additional materials, signage and whatnot. But that is moving forward and should probably happen within the next several weeks, I would guess.
Okay, thank you.
You're on mute, Sandy.
Sandy?
Yeah, I'm coming back. Okay. I have butterfingers. I have butterfingers with my trackpad. What did I say that was? 245-314? Okay. We'll see if anybody else joins us. All right. Next item, updating Mountain Road, Farmington Avenue intersection observation. That was, Greg sent a report to us, which I shared with the commission and also with Alan Blazenstein. I was hoping Alan would be here. I'm suspecting he's having a problem with the password. But he was the one who raised the issue because he frequents that corner on bike and on foot and has noticed a lot of times that people are not respecting the crosswalk when they right turn on red. So Greg had sent a report, and if you have the meeting materials after the minutes, I think that's the next thing. And then I also included Alan's response. He had some concerns with what was included in the report from, well, I guess the report was actually from Dwayne Martin to Matthew Hart, but I think Greg had a lot to do with putting this report together. And then he sent it out to us. So why don't we jump in on that? Greg, did you have a chance to look at Alan's, the issues Alan raised?
I did, Sandy, and one of the things that we observed, and it's not just at this intersection; it's at most intersections through town. When there is a no turn red prohibition, if there's in the absence of a true, generally a sightline obstruction that motorists can't see the approaching traffic, whether there's a no turn red or not, it's frequently disregarded or ignored. And that was kind of what we saw here. We did install a traffic camera to monitor over the course of a couple days. And what we saw was a lot of cars that would just kind of roll up to the intersection, take a quick peek and then proceed, not come to a full complete stop while they're performing that right turn on red maneuver. So we spoke with the police department about it. They kind of agreed and have committed to doing some additional enforcement to try and correct that behavior, but ultimately it's kind of just a cultural driving behavior, so it's one of those that's difficult to correct through engineering means, even with a sign. Our thoughts are, our opinion is that people would still disregard it, and now you just kind of create that false sense of security where a pedestrian might be expecting, oh, they aren't supposed to be making a right turn on red. And people are going to disregard that and do that anyway. So that's why the turning prohibition was in place probably 3 or 4 years ago. But when we made some modifications to that intersection, we ended up removing the site obstruction, and that therefore the prohibition came down along with that project.
Greg, quick question on that, and thank you. This is Daniel Johnson. Are there other streets that seem to be concerned for like right turn red, and we're having difficulties addressing from an engineering perspective and customer behavior?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty pretty much throughout town. It's probably, you know, behind speed limits and stop signs. It's probably the third most disobeyed sign that we have in town. I don't have specific locations, but you know, generally speaking, like I mentioned, if there's not a true obstruction where a motorist comes to the stop bar on a red light and looks to their left and physically can't see traffic, you know, that's probably one of those situations where you would get compliance. But in the absence of that, you know, they're frequently ignored.
Okay.
Just on other data from the report, and it's probably at the risk of asking about this, but the trend line, at least for the last couple of years, I don't know if it was 3 years or 2, but it seems to be there's a lot less accidents right there than there were, and there was sort of a culmination of them a couple of years back. Have there been any changes that have reduced the accidents? Am I looking at something that's not significant statistically because it's not enough years, but it just seemed like it was 2 or 3 in the last couple of years, and before that it was more. So asking again, have there been changes? Because it seems better, or am I, you know, seeing something that isn't statistically significant?
Colin, it's probably a little bit of both. You know, the crashes kind of come and go. It's a relatively small sample size, all things considered. And a lot of the crashes we did see were rear end type collisions, which are pretty typical at signalized intersections. One improvement we did make recently was in the northbound direction, where we kind of did a small sliver widening that allowed us to get a short left turn lane in there. So what that did was really help overall improve the efficiency of the operation of the intersection. Whereas before it was just a single lane, so if somebody was turning left, all the traffic would queue up behind them, and that would obviously, you know, reduce the number of cars that can get through the intersection, and then, you know, frustrate drivers if they're stopped for multiple signal phases. So just adding that extra you know, small sliver left turn lane certainly helped improve that. So that might be something that it could be attributable to.
Thanks.
You know, I'm concerned because this is the only meeting where we haven't been able to have people call in. Both people who contacted me said that password doesn't work. So I think I'm going to suggest that, because I know that Alan wanted to address this, we'll put it on the agenda for next month also. Is that all right with everybody? You can nod your head.
That's wise.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Next item was the bicycle parking and the feedback from the town. I don't think we had talked about this before, but correct me if I'm wrong. The reaction, when we sent the maps and the information to the town, they said they would look into it, but they cautioned that on Park Road and New Britain Avenue, there could be an issue where we look at it and think, look, there's a nice wide sidewalk. You could put a bike rack very easily, but the what looks to be public right of way might actually be private. And so that creates an issue. And I think the town is continuing to review that. I'm going to send my friends here online Bike 14, see if that works. Is there a space between bike and 14, or it just goes bike 14? I guess it's bike 14. Okay, sorry about that. Luckily, it's only 2 people who are trying to figure out how to get on. Okay, so in terms of the bicycle parking, did anybody have any questions or concerns? One thing Dwayne said is that we might be able to be helpful to the town when they determine where the best location is. Maybe it's on private property and they'd like bicyclists to help make the contact to the property owner, hey, would you put a bike rack because people would like to use it at your location.
Sure.
All right.
Sandy, just so I write that down right. So the town asked if the commission, if the space is owned by a private individual, not the town, that we ask the establishment to put a bike rack.
If the bike rack location is in the public right of way, it's easy enough. The town can go out and install it. They can control that. New Britain Avenue, that's state right of way, not town right of way, for one thing. So there's that issue. And then there's the issue if the actual location, it might be that the public right of way is kind of narrow and you need all that public right of way to provide an ADA accessible walkway. And so the bike rack needs to be put on private property.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm late on sleep today, so I apologize for asking questions twice.
That's okay.
And my son's trying to join the meeting by crying. I'm not sure which one he's trying to do, but I think he's got a voice and opinion.
Okay. All right. Next item is a survey as prelude to a bicycle plan update. I think Ken and Colin, you are both on the subcommittee that's looking at the survey. So maybe you can report to us how things are going.
Yeah, I'll start. Jill Morawski, Ken Livingston, and I, Colin Gillespie. And in the context of the commission request to investigate and start to talk more about the overall Town of West Hartford bike plan, we were asked to investigate a survey as support for that re-up of the plan or evaluation thereof. So we did meet. We met on July 28th. So I planned actually to talk to this in August, but we had the delayed meeting. We thought a little bit about stepping back, so we stepped back a little bit and thought, why would we do a survey anyhow, not just for the bike plan? And we thought that this is a really good opportunity to listen, a snapshot in time, especially with bike use so high up in COVID-19. So beyond the bike plan, there's just an opportunity to, in some ways, actually, maybe we could get a little bit of this lightning in a bottle and find out what's going on with it and see if there's any opportunity to make it sustainable as opposed to just because of the pandemic and then it stops. I noticed there was a little note in your chat, Sandy, if you address that, I don't know. But also, as we have new council members, I know when I looked at the bike plan that was presented and represented back to us, I found out as a, not a new member, but a relatively new member, that I learned things. And so maybe the whole council will learn things from the survey, even though there were surveys in 07 and in the teens. So there's that. And then also the overall stress test for our bike plan that came out in 16. So we all three of us supported the idea for a survey after sort of punching some holes into the why. So with that in mind, we met again on August 3rd, and we reviewed the previous two surveys. Ken had access and was involved with those, so it was really good legacy knowledge and ability. And so we reviewed the two surveys and decided from there which questions to keep, which questions to take away from the two surveys, combine them as it were, and then anything we wanted to add based on the new mandates or agenda. So Ken has actually created a draft survey. It's ready to go. We'll send it out as a link after this meeting. It has comments as an ability on the survey. So the commission members will get a link, and then you can put your comments in there, and we can massage it to make it the best it can be. Jill can't be here. She had a couple of comments she wanted me to talk to. She feels this survey might yield a very large response. If I look back at the bike plan, there was about 300 in the last one. Ken, is that correct? Probably. Survey recipients, something like that.
Don't remember. Yeah, I thought there was more, but yeah.
So at least in that, the bike plan copy it said around 300. But Jill thinks that maybe two reasons. One is just the interest in biking, but also just if we do a little bit better job on outreach. I mean, we did a good job back then. Can we do it even better? So we could get a more broader response, but also a more thoughtful response. Maybe more people are thinking about it. Any one of us who rides for 4 different, reasons, you're a child and you're having fun, you're commuting, you're a wreck, so you're just hanging out with your family and having fun, or you're doing it for sport. Anybody who does those things has seen so many more people out there right now. So the survey could actually grab onto a lot more people and a lot more thoughtful response. More people have an opinion. And then we also believe it would support the long-term goals of the commission. One of those reasons is that multiple members of the commission over the last, really ever since we probably had a commission, have talked about how can we be more proactive in advocating bikeways, lanes, and safety. And one way to do that is to have data and opinion. And so these findings could guide us on refining and justifying our bike infrastructure plan. We also note that there could be positives and negatives of a new survey. This could bring up sensitivities of spend against bike improvements. Because people say, wait, now that you're asking me, why are they spending all this money on bike improvements? And others, but it could also bring up support that could be sustained. So that is to say, if we go out to 500 or 1,000 people, they respond, maybe now we have 1,000 advocates, or at least a portion of them. So there's some real reasons why this makes a lot of sense to us, at least in the subcommittee of 3. So our next step is to, we'll send out a link afterwards. Ken, I actually have no changes to what you sent at this point. I went back through it and do not have changes. When you actually get this link and make comments, you have to fill in some things in order to get to the next page. Otherwise, it'll stop you because there's some required questions. You just note that. So we're going to send out a link with the survey with the ultimate goal of the subcommittee compiling the feedback and creating the final survey. And then we have to decide in the interim on what date we'd have the survey, and also in our subcommittee, the best methods for a successful and directionally representative survey. We know it's not going to be statistically representative of a 68,000 person town or whatever our number is right now, but we think it could be better than we've had in the past in terms of folks who have taken it in terms of numbers and maybe even content. So that's where we are right now. Sandy, anything else you need from Ken and I, or should we is there any Q&A with the group? Oh,
One thing
Ken,
I wanted to ask about was did you include a question about the signed routes, the colored routes? We had talked about that in July because we were talking about should we add another route, and somebody said we don't even know how people use the existing routes. Did you include something on that?
Okay. Ken, can you answer that one? I'm going to bring it up. I have it actually up while we're talking too. Did you get that, Ken? Do you have an answer to that one?
Sorry, I'll start again. We don't have a specific question that says, have you used the signed bicycle route, and ask maybe even what route they've used. We do have it as sort of their preferences and what they like of signed routes, but it is something we could consider and probably should, to just see if people are even familiar or say they've used the signed bike route. Maybe a good point of reference just of who submits that. Yeah, they're aware of these. We may find that there's lack of awareness, or you may be pleasantly surprised that lots of people have used it. So that's easy to add in. Yeah, we could even think of it in terms of, some sort of a percentage use or something, so we could know of the recipient 60% or whatever. We can get there. Yeah. Have you used the current?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Sandy, because that was part of the reason we started the conversation too, like getting feedback on, what the commission is doing, if people use them, if they like them. And it started with a 4th proposal of the signed bike route through Elizabeth Park. So we definitely, thank you guys. If we could include that in the survey, that'd be very helpful to see if people are using them and if they want more.
Yeah, most of our questions have gone more to what would cause you to bike more, which is kind of a question from the old one, and it should be what improvements have you noticed, as it were. We'll figure that out. Okay. Including the routes. Any other highlights, Ken, of the? I remember we might call out some of the highlight things we added.
Yeah, I was going to ask, well, if you can look up, I'm not sure there's any highlights I'm trying to go.
I've got-
Sandy, does that concept work for review of sending it out to the commission and either?
Yes, I think that's very good. Yeah.
Okay.
The other one I noticed we did, how has your writing changed based on COVID-19? So we have a couple questions that are just going to sort of set up this idea of increase. There's definitely something around feeling safe. That was something that we want to make sure that we're including and massaging from previous. Yeah, and then we do have to add a specific question on new improvements. So that was definitely part of our committee, and we'll make sure it's in there. So thanks for reinforcing that. And then there was even some possibility of, if offered, what would you take on more? You know, what else would you take advantage of something if it was offered? So there's really a lot open there in your comments, as well as there's some improvements within the survey that we did ourselves. We tried to remove duplicate answers and questions because we didn't want it to be too long a survey, and thus reduce the efficacy or the amount of survey actually worked through. We did also change something very specific just based on one of our demo questions about gender to make it more inclusive and broader. So, you know, what gender do you identify with, as opposed to, you know, male or female and this kind of thing. So there's just some modernizing also of the survey.
Thank you, Colin, Kevin, and Jill. We do a lot of survey work with the bank right now, and I think demographic information or anything like that might take away from what we're trying to get on a general feedback basis. But it's definitely worth a discussion.
It's optional, and we've said it. You would not have to fill out that section if you don't want to.
And so then, if we could just double check, we don't have any like lead-in bias, so like questions that tee off the next question to make it more favorable of a response. If we could try to remove as much bias as possible, I think that'll help the town respond to any survey response as well, but also make sure that we're being very factual with what we present, you know?
I think it's
awesome what you guys put together too, so I don't mean to dismiss that at all.
Why don't we just wait till we can see it, maybe? And
but Daniel, put your own, if you don't mind, put the comments in. If you feel like something is leading one way or the other, just drop the comment in. We'll take it all.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Ken, for putting it together too.
Yeah. So, Colin, were you going to send it to me and I can send it to everybody, or will you send it to the full list of our commission?
I like the former, Ken.
Well,
why don't we send it to Sandy?
Actually, no, I'll send it out to the commission, because Sandy, this way everyone will get a link so they can, when they comment, even their name gets recorded. So
yeah, that's perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, each one will get a personalized link to comment on. So
awesome.
I'll just paste everyone's email addresses into it. So.
All right. So the next item on the agenda is review of the bicycle plan. And I see we have a couple phone numbers who have called in. The person whose phone number ends in 28. Can you tell me who you are?
That would be Ethan Frankel and Tracy Frankel.
Ethan, were you texting me, or telling me you couldn't get in?
Yes.
Thank you for your patience. I apologize. I don't know. The town puts the virtual meeting stuff into the agenda. They put the phone number and the access code. So I don't know why we got a wrong phone number in there, but I heard from a couple people who said they couldn't get in with the correct number. So who is phone number ending in 52?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Ben Winograd.
Ben, thank you. Glad you could get in. What I'm worried about is all the people who didn't have my cell number to let me know they couldn't get in.
Yeah, because this was the number, it looked like the agenda for August, that phone number was what you had sent out, the old number.
Yeah, but you know what? Yeah, but this agenda I sent the agenda to the town and they said, where'd you get the WebEx number? I said, oh, that's last month's. And they said, no, we have to put the number in. And they put the number in. And then they took my meeting materials and they attached it all together and they uploaded it to the website. I probably made the error of not fixing September at the top because August 14th wouldn't have been the correct date. I must have made that error, but they put the numbers in. So I apologize. And the problem is that anybody who went to the website and got the agenda, they couldn't get into the meeting, which is a problem. It's kind of like we are a secret public meeting.
And is everybody on phone? Nobody, it's WebEx, but it's not, there's no
Here's
video?
the way, Ben, the way the town says the commission must run the meeting. Commission members can join WebEx
Okay, you do it
as a
okay,
WebEx.
just the public. Got it.
Everybody else has to phone in, which is truly not satisfactory today.
No.
So, I mean, we could always say this is not a proper public meeting and we could just close the meeting. But I'd rather just proceed. Is that okay?
Not my call, your meeting.
Okay, well, we don't have anybody from your
Right.
attorney's office. So, does anybody on the commission have strong feelings? Like, I mean, we've already said we'll push the item that we knew Alan Blazenstein was interested in. We'll make sure that's an item on next month's agenda.
Yeah, that sounds appropriate, Sandy.
All right, the next item I have on the agenda is review of the bicycle plan. Just because that's what we talked about in July, that we need to do a survey and we need to be looking at the bicycle plan. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at that, but Daniel also suggested that, you know, as part of this discussion, we think about really our goals for, oh, okay, I got a message from Scott Franklin. Can anybody reach out to Scott Franklin and let him know how to get into the meeting via phone? I would be very grateful if you could.
I'm doing that right now. This is Ethan.
Thank you, Ethan. Okay. But Daniel suggested that we think not just about the bicycle plan as a whole, but this commission, the Pedestrian Bicycle Commission, and what our goals are. Did I state that properly, Daniel? Would you like to jump in and give a little more explanation?
Yeah, thanks, Eddie. And my suggestion was based off of resident feedback as well. You know, and Greg, and thanks for joining today. So I think like the town has the bicycle facilities plan, which looks like it was drafted 2016, really framed off the complete streets policy. And, you know, I feel like this policy was great at the time, but I think current economic situations and people's lifestyles have changed significantly just the past year. And there's an opportunity at the town to look at, you know, pedestrian and bicycle traffic in a different way, on a much more prioritized agenda for small businesses, but also take some big steps forward and have a map in place. So that's what it's based off, Sandy. You know, I'd like the opportunity for us to come together and look at this complete streets policy and think of some vision goals. The current one seems to suggest if the opportunity is available, the town will use this complete streets policy. I'd like to see it more bulleted to, you know, when this opportunity presents itself, this is the best course of action based on the commission and resident feedback.
Makes sense. And I guess the obvious, to make it a pedestrian and bicycle facilities plan, or even change that name, but to add in pedestrian, if we're going for it, let's go for it. Is that a
Yeah, I mean, just
statement?
I think you're right, Colin, because even in you know, just the past, I mean, so far, right, the center has been changed to one-way traffic. there's the slow streets proposal that the town asked for commission feedback, which is not on the current complete streets policy. So these slow streets can easily plug in there. I do like the idea of an educational program in elementary schools, and also the converting some space within our parks in town to have like a kind of like a test area for kids to learn traffic safety, when to hit, when to stop. Sandy shared some stuff in Portland, Oregon about traffic gardens. As a family or kids can go there and learn when to stop, when to cross the street, and there's some fun things on the pavement for so far as markings to educate the town, and also recognize the lifestyles that people have now more frequently adopted or forced to adopt so far as what we have in here.
But isn't there a fundamental question about that? We just talked about a bicycle survey. We're talking about a bike plan, but we're a pedestrian and bicycle commission. So, I mean, I guess I'm asking the question: are we thinking of going forward beyond a bicycle plan and into a bicycle and pedestrian plan?
I think that's.
I would like to, Sandy. Can we do that? And Greg?
Yeah, I think that's something good to think about. So maybe the survey needs to be broadened to include pedestrian and bike.
I think we could take that on as our subcommittee. And I mean, I know we're not trying to loop here about something we had already said, but that might be a good thing to do. That would be a good thing to do to support this initiative. But we just have to be in agreement that we would get a broader plan together as opposed to a bicycle plan.
Oh, this is Daniel Johnson. I'm in agreement to include pedestrians.
Yeah, this is Paul. I agree with that as well.
I'm going to ask, we had a couple more phone-in people join us. So if you just phoned in and have not yet identified yourself, could you let me know who's out there? And apologies for the problem.
Sandy, hello? Scott Franklin's on.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Hi, this is David Beers, a resident.
David Deans?
David Beers, B as in boy, E-E-R-S. I'm a resident.
Oh, great. Thank you, David.
Welcome.
And I apologize to everybody that we've had a problem with the phone call-in number at the top of our agenda was incorrect. So.
No worries.
Very sorry about that. Okay. Anything more anybody wants to discuss about bicycle plan / pedestrian plan?
I'm at the risk of piling on, I'm sorry, but I think I mentioned that the different constituents that are important in a plan. Like if it's a bike plan, you've got the children, which aren't mentioned at all in this. I think they mentioned schools one time. There's the recreational cyclist, which I think of as family. There's the commuter, there's the competitive or even exercise related. And then you could actually tie all those on to walkers and runners and everybody else as pedestrian. And I think there's a lack in this report of that understanding of the target and use. And again, I might be adding too much, and I don't want to make this a catch-all, but if you're really thinking about supporting a vision of the things we've talked about in the past, about more people walking, running, children walking to school, all the other things that we talked about, I think there's just no mention of targets.
You're saying target users, the user types largely?
Absolutely. I mean, what a great example to me was our discussion at length about whether you should cycle in Elizabeth Park or not. And that was heated would be the poor word, but there was real opinions. And so, but cycling, what if that 5-year-old wants to cycle? And where are they going to cycle? So to me, it was a great example of understanding different types of use across pedestrians and bicyclists, and that being part of a report. I don't know how that comes along.
All right, thank you. I mean, I guess the one thing we have to keep in mind, we did not write the previous bicycle facilities plan. We gave input to the town. The town actually produced the plan. So we are probably, I don't know that we have capacity to write a bicycle and pedestrian plan, but maybe what we want to do is provide input to the town to encourage the development of an updated plan. Okay.
Sandy, this is Daniel Johnson. Can we get confirmation on that of what we can provide for bicycle facilities plan if we can include pedestrians?
Well, what I'm thinking is we can include whatever we want. We don't know if they'll do it. We can, we have to convince the town, I think, that they need an updated bicycle plan and we think it should include pedestrians. And here's some guidance. We think you should be indicating who the different user groups are, pedestrians and bicyclists, that a plan should be providing for.
Okay.
I don't think anybody wants to write a plan on the board, on the commission. Yeah, Ken's not jumping up and down. Me either.
We could help them, and as you said, whether it's our survey work or advice, makes sense.
Okay. All right. Under new business, we have an item, and that is the town has requested that we support their application for community connectivity grant. And I think that's the very final page of the handout. The community connectivity grant applications are due October 16th. And what the engineering division plans to apply for is upgrading traffic signal equipment to provide accessible pedestrian equipment and ADA compliant curb ramps at various intersections. So the accessible pedestrian equipment, that means that the pedestrian signal has a tone. It makes a tone. So if you are have a vision impairment, you're still able to understand what the signal is showing. And a lot of times the push button itself has a locator tone, so the individual can actually find where that push button is. So I think it's a great application for the community connectivity program. So I would support us writing a letter of support. Any thoughts from anybody else? Does anybody want to make a motion that I draft a letter and share it with the commission? And then if everybody's okay with what I send out, we submit it to the town?
Sure, this is Ken Livingston. I make a recommendation that we support the connectivity grant with a letter.
Right, is there a second?
Colin Gillespie seconds the motion.
And does anybody have questions? The town did get a community connectivity grant through the initial round. I think, Greg, didn't you paint some sharrows, or maybe you're going to be in the process of painting them soon?
That's correct. We did receive a grant back in 2017 for about just over $100,000, which was specifically for bicycle related facilities. We shifted the focus a little bit. Initially, we were talking about doing sharrows, and then we really we felt, based on some feedback we heard from this group, obviously the push was for bicycle lanes. So what we've been doing is implementing a lot of the bike lanes that we've been putting in just this year, even on Boulevard, on Fern, on Park Road. Those we're using grant funding to implement those bicycle improvements. We're going to continue to do that next year as well. I think we spent just about half the money this year with the bike lanes on those streets. So, yeah.
Greg, I'm going to want to follow up with you after to find out what you submitted for design. on that to DOT, if you don't mind. Just from City of Hartford, we have a grant, and we've been having trouble getting all our designs submitted. Do you have to submit all the designs?
Pretty flexible. We did, but we had to put together marking plans anyway, so it was pretty easy for us to pull that together. But yeah, we can talk offline on that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor that has been seconded. Any discussion?
No, I agree with that motion. This is Daniel Johnson.
Okay, so I will run through the roll asking for your aye or nay on the motion. Colin Gillespie.
Aye, Colin Gillespie.
Okay, Daniel Johnson.
Daniel Johnson says aye.
Denise?
Denise says aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Paul Hogan?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So I will draft that and send it out just to make sure everybody's okay with how I do it. All right, now we're to reports. Are there any more town staff updates? I think, Greg, you said you might have something.
Yeah, just a couple of quick items. Couple quick things. One, Mountain at Albany, an update on that project. We are still advancing the design. We've ran into a few snags with utility conflicts in coordination with Eversource and Frontier. So we're working through those now, but we're still hoping that that project will be bid this winter and put out, for start construction next spring is still a thought there. Also, just wanted to pass this along. We were successful in receiving a grant through the AARP for, it's kind of a community outreach type grant. We're actually installing rectangular rapid flashing beacons at 2 crossing locations. One is on Fern Street in front of Morley Elementary School. The other is Stark Hill Road near the Senior Center. So those 2 locations, RFBs will be installed this fall, and that is courtesy of AARP. So we appreciate their contribution to the community. And then the last thing I have is from Helen Rubino Turco, Director of Leisure Services. I just wanted to pass along a thank you to Scott Franklin, Ethan Frankel, and Ed Pollock for organizing the slow roll on August 30th. It sounds like there's about 75 people that participated. Everybody was masked, and it looked like it was a great event. So she wanted to pass along her thanks for putting that together. That's all I have.
Thank you, Greg. And thank you, Scott and Ethan and Ed, for the work on that slow roll. I heard it was very nice. Okay, any update from Bike West Hartford, Inc.?
Well, this is Scott. Just that we finished up the rides during the summer. We did about 9 of them, half of them on Wednesday evenings, half of them on Saturday mornings, and they were really well attended. Our favorite one was the one right after the power lines were all down in town. I think they went down on Tuesday. We took a ride on Wednesday, and it was like a ping pong ball going in all different places because most of the roads we wanted to go on, we couldn't have access to. It was really a lot of fun. And then the slow roll, as was mentioned, had about 75 to 80 people. It was a 2.5-mile loop, which many people did twice. And it was a series of right turns, so nobody was crossing traffic. Primarily a 4-mile road, Sedgwick, Ridgewood Road, and Farmington Avenue. And as was mentioned, everybody wore a mask, and it was a good ride for social distancing. And the participation was really wonderful, and we think everybody who participated had a great time. So, Ed, anything? Are you on? Ed or Ethan?
This is Ethan. Yeah, I wanted to add that we, after the slow roll that took place instead of Center Streets, we discussed doing slow rolls once a month, starting in May 2021, and we Also, I wanted to just mention that Bike West Hartford Facebook group has had continuous requests for people to join, and we now have 650 members of Bike West Hartford on Facebook. That's it.
That's great. The Facebook, the number of members, and I really like the idea of doing regular slow rolls. That sounds good. I think this is a nice partnership between our commission that doesn't have the energy to plan rides and Bike West Hartford Inc. that you guys are able to do that and get more people out onto the streets. So thank you.
It's been a lot of fun, Sandy. Thank you very much for partnering with us.
Okay, is there anybody from Cycling Without Age who would like to address us? I don't think there is anybody, because Dan's not here.
Kevin did come to the slow roll,
Mm-hmm.
and because of COVID, he really has not been able to get into any of the nursing homes, understandably. But he does have insurance, which he's providing for, and he does have the truck ramp or a carrier so that he can easily get the bike to go from place to place. So hopefully when COVID cures, we'll be back with a vengeance with Cycle Without Age.
One item, I should have brought this up under new business. I would like to cease being chair of this commission at the end of the year. So that gives all the commission members time to think about whether they might like to take on the chairmanship. And I invite anybody who's interested to reach out to me, and we can talk about, what I do in putting the meetings together and just sort of the day-to-day. It's not a terribly hard task, so I would encourage everyone to give it consideration.
Sandy, just a follow-up, and sad to hear that news. Would it only be commission members allowed to be chair, or could the public, the residents, put their name in for that as well?
You have to be a commission member to be chair of the commission. So we would, and
Okay.
I'll send an email, since we have a few members who are missing today, just so everybody knows about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for the news, and we're definitely going to miss you when that time comes.
Well, and I'll stay on the commission. I still have more time in my term on the commission, but I feel I'm getting exhausted. And so it would be good to have someone else share the duties. So, last item is our next meeting is scheduled right now for Tuesday, October 13th, because Monday, October 12th is Columbus Day holiday, so we can't meet then. But the town informed me that since there is a council meeting that evening, we would have to start early at 6 p.m., or alternatively, we could meet at 7 p.m. on the 14th, the Wednesday. It seemed like the feedback that I got from the group, I've heard from not quite half the commission, but it seemed like people were leaning, if they were expressing a preference, there seemed to be more preference for going to 6 o'clock on the 13th than switching to Wednesday. If everybody who's on the call, those of you who I can see your faces, everybody except for Paul, why don't you raise your hand if you think it would be okay to do the 13th at 6 p.m. Okay, we got 4. Now, Paul, do you want to,
That's fine by me. Yeah, it's fine. I can make it. I'll make it work.
Okay, so I will let the town know, and we will do that. And I will also make sure that we don't have this problem that we had with the phone number. I didn't ever double check it against the invitation. And the other thing is, did everybody get that invitation, the WebEx invitation from the town, or did you get it when I sent it out?
Hey, this is Paul. I got it from the town, but it wasn't necessarily clearly marked. I got it from Megan, and it just, the subject was WebEx meeting invitation.
Okay.
So yeah, I did get it.
Because I didn't get it either at my work email or my home email. So that's why I was concerned. I had reached out to Cindy Perini, who I usually deal with, and she sent me a copy of the invitation, and then I sent that out. So anyway, this was sort of a problem meeting. And for those of you who persisted and finally did make it on the phone, I really appreciate your persistence. And unfortunately, you missed a good bit of the meeting. And if there's anything that you wanted to share with us and you haven't had an opportunity yet because you missed that part of the agenda, I would invite you to jump in and share your input with us.
Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So yeah, David Beers here. I just wanted to join in because I wanted to get more involved in advocacy. I'm a cyclist in town, mostly for errands and getting around to short distances, and the new bike lane on Fern is fantastic. I have seen a couple of cars every now and then parked, like sort of more down near between Morley and Trout Brook, but for the most part, it's been pretty great. And I think that it would be great for the survey idea sounds fantastic. And if we do a lot of outreach, I think a lot of residents would be very interested in more, safe infrastructure so that, you don't have to drive around so much in town. I don't know about any of you, but I've noticed that traffic levels have increased to seemingly almost the same as pre-pandemic. So I think that's concerning both from a maintaining the roads perspective and from an environmental perspective, considering what we're seeing, sort of the first chapter of climate change really affecting California right now, especially. So I think anything that we can do to take more cars off the road and have people have an option to do their errands while exercising is a great thing. So, yeah.
Thank you, David. And David, did you get Daniel's email that he sent out yesterday reminding people of the meeting? I want to make sure we have you on our email list.
I don't think I'm on there, no. And I also didn't see the agenda on the website, and it doesn't look like there are that many minutes on there as well.
I found the agenda when I went to, if you just go to September 14th meeting and you click on it, it takes you to another place and then the agenda is there. It was not the,
okay.
But thank you for mentioning that about the minutes. I send them in every month and I assume they go up, but I don't check.
Yeah, I'm trying to look now, but the last time I checked, it seemed like some were missing, some months were missing.
Okay.
Yeah, I just see January and July for 2020.
I will get right on that. Thank you.
Okay.
And
Great.
do you mind giving your, well, we're live on TV. Maybe we don't want to ask him to give us.
David, yeah, if you want to reach out to
Daniel,
Daniel Johnson.
I can send it to him.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, I know David. Welcome, David. I'll send your email over to these guys right after this meeting and copy you.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything that they want to share? Anybody who had called in?
This is Ethan Frankel. I want to echo everything David said. This is exactly where direction we need to be headed in, and I thought he was spot on with what West Hartford needs: more people getting on their bikes to do errands and to move around town, and less people in cars. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Well, we will meet next month on Tuesday, October 13th at 6 p.m. Our virtual meeting will go off without a hitch. We will make sure all the information is correct. Thank you, everyone. Apologies for it being sort of an awkward meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Right.
Well,
Thank you, town staff, as well.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.